This is a story from the country India. A long, long time ago, in a small village in India, there lived an old couple. Devaya, the husband, and Devamma, the wife. Now, Devaya and Devamma were very, very big misers, which means they did not like to spend money. So much so that they did not even spend any money on themselves. They did not have any children, but they did not even buy any clothes for themselves. Their clothes were all patched up and dirty, and their house was breaking apart. Both Devaya and Devamma did not even spend a penny on repairing their house. Everybody in the village knew what big misers they were. Now, one fine day, a new family moved into the neighborhood, and they did not know anything about Devaya and Devamma. Now, it was the new family's son's birthday, and after the birthday party, they sent sweets around. They got to know about the old couple, and they sent them 2 besan laddoos. Now, when Devaya and Devamma got the besan laddoos, they were delighted. Devaya put the besan laddu in his mouth, and bit by bit he nibbled onto it, taking in all the lovely flavors of the mithai that he was eating after so many years. And Devamma too took very, very small, teeny, weeny, tiny bites of the laddu. Both of them took nearly 2 hours to finish 1 laddu each. And after the laddus were finished, the old couple couldn't stop talking about the laddus. Devamma said, I can't forget the way the laddu melted into my mouth. Devaya put in, what about the ghee that was coming out of the laddu? I can still feel it in my mouth. Devaya and Devamma spent days on end discussing the laddus that they had eaten. Until finally, one day, Devaya had enough, and he got up and he said, enough done, enough. I can't stop thinking about those laddus. I am dreaming about the laddus day and night. I think, Devamma, let us spend a little bit of money and get some ingredients for the laddus and make just 2 besan laddus, 1 for you and 1 for me. What do you say? The moment her husband had uttered these words, Devamma said, of course, that's what, you have read my thoughts, you have read my mind, let's go and get the ingredients. The old couple got dressed up in terrible, rotten, stinky clothes, picked up a little bit of money and went to the market, and very carefully they bought ingredients for the besan laddus, making sure that they don't buy too much of anything. Once they were back home, they were very quiet and they didn't want anybody else in the neighborhood to know what they were up to. Devamma sat down. She was about to start preparing the laddus when a thought occurred to her. She looked at Devaya and said, but what if when I am cooking the laddu, the neighbors smell it? Then they will all want to come here and share the laddus with us. At that, her husband, Devaya, said, you are right. I don't think we should cook these laddus here in the house. The couple decided to go deep in the forest and make the laddus over there. So they gathered the ingredients, and at the dead of the night, when everybody in the neighborhood was fast asleep, they both went to the forest. And there they sat down. They made a fire and they started preparing the laddus. It took a long time, and the beautiful aroma of the food was driving both of them insane. They couldn't wait to eat the laddus. And finally, the mixture was ready and they began rolling the laddus. Once they had finished rolling 2 laddus, they realized there was some more mixture left. And so, enough for 1 extra laddu. Now, Devaya and Devamma had not 2 but 3 laddus. They went back home elated and then they sat down. They were about to take a bite of each laddu, their own laddus, when suddenly Devaya said, finally, I can't wait to bite into this laddu. But I was thinking, Devaya, what about this 3rd laddu? How are we planning to divide this? At that, her husband said, "Oh, isn't it obvious? It was my idea to make the besan laddus, so I get to eat 2 laddus and you get to eat 1 laddu." That was extremely unfair, thought Devamma. No. I made all that effort of cooking the laddus. It was my idea to go to the forest. I saved these laddus from the neighbors as well. No, nothing doing. I get 2, you get 1. Before they had even eaten 1 bite of the laddus, the couple got into a terrible fight. And they fought and they argued for hours and hours and hours. Until Devaya put his hands up and said, "I have had enough. Fine, let's have a bet. You and I should stop speaking to each other. Whoever breaks the silence gets the extra laddu. Until then, we will not even eat 1 laddu from this bowl." Devamma thought that this was a fair deal. So she said, all right, I'm putting my laddu in this bowl. You put yours there. 3 laddus on the table in the bowl between us. And the bet starts now. The moment she said now, both Devaya and Devamma stopped talking to each other. 1 day went by. And then the 2nd day went by. Not a word was exchanged between the two. Pretty soon, the neighbors started getting suspicious. Was everything all right with the old couple? Were they feeling okay? Not a murmur had been heard from their house in the last 2 days. The neighbors decided to investigate. So they began knocking at the door. Knock. No sound from inside. Devamma feared if she would answer the door, the bet would break. And Devaya had the same fears. They did not answer the door. The neighbors collected other neighbors, and then one of the neighbors climbed on top of the roof and peeped inside through the chimney. They both saw Devaya and Devamma lying down on the floor with the bowl of laddus between them. And this person who was peeping created a racket. Oh, they have died, with food untouched lying between them. He climbed down from the chimney, opened the door and let in all the neighbors. Devaya and Devamma lay there motionless. They did not want to make a sound. The neighbors started talking about how the couple had died and the food between them still remained untouched. And also they started discussing about looking for the treasure that these two were hoarding. Devaya and Devamma heard everything but did not stir for fear of losing the bet. Pretty soon the neighbors decided that it was time to cremate the dead couple. So they picked up their bodies and carried them to the cremation ground. Over there, they discussed that they should only burn one pyre because both of them were such big misers. They did not deserve 2 pyres. So they stacked up lots of wood, put the bodies of Devaya and Devamma on the wood and lit the pyre. Devaya and Devamma had not uttered a single word even now. Pretty soon the hot fire started licking the soles of their feet. At that, Devamma finally broke the silence and she got up and she said, I have had enough. I am not going to die. Fine, you win the bet. Let's go back home. Devaiya was delighted. He got up saying, I have won the bet, I have won the bet. The villagers were dumbstruck. They thought that the both of them were ghosts. They ran at the speed of light from the cremation ground. And Devaiya and Devamma laughed and laughed and went back to the house. Devaiya was so excited. He was to get 2 Ladoos. And Devamma, of course, was upset, but she was happy that she was alive. The moment they reached the house, the neighbors, in the hurry of cremating them, had left the doors open. And right there, right in front of their eyes, they saw a shaggy old dog. Moving around the house, licking his snout and wagging his tail furiously. Devaiya and Devamma saw the bowl of Ladoos empty, licked clean by the shaggy old dog. They both looked at each other, dejected. The only thing that they got were a few barks from the dog and a wagging tail to welcome them back in their house.